Hello everyone, a lot has happened in Dead by Daylight recently, but also barely anything has happened at all. I'm making this video to address a lot of things at once, and it might be a little messy, but I think it's pretty important to talk about. I'm going to try and organize it by sections, but it will mostly surround around a certain theme. Very first, I'm going to talk about our elephant in the room, the unknown changes that we received with the Cressway release. Second, I'm going to address the Harmless situation, and I'm not quite going to give suggestions for changes as I've already done that previously many times by this point. Third, I'm going to talk about bugs and issues regarding Unknown in general, and how many of them I have reported that have still not been addressed. Fourth, I'm going to talk a little bit about the current public test build and the Furtive Chase nerf. And I'm leaving this near the end, specifically because this may or may not come to live and I don't really expect it to at all. Alright, so our unknown changes have been in the game for a fair bit now, and I want to talk about why I'm still frustrated to this day by it. While we did get some interesting quality of life, like being able to look up, which is huge, and cannot be understated how grateful I am for us to be able to get something like this, overall, despite this change and the minor quality of life buffs we did receive, like the 0.1 second faster teleport recovery and the increased weaken timer on injury from 6 to 8 seconds, I still do believe that this update has missed the mark. These fixes can generally be assumed as buffs to many in the community, but in reality, these changes were mostly a nothing burger that didn't even fully fix issues that Unknown has. First of all, the plus 8 seconds of weaken on injury is just so odd to me, because the base weaken timer is 10 seconds. It just doesn't really make sense to me that it doesn't refill the bar fully on weaken. If you were to hit someone at the very last second of their weaken bar, you will still have barely any time to hit a follow-up shot, because the bar doesn't refill fully. It's just odd and unnecessary, in my opinion. I just think that it's weird that weakening and injuring don't give off the same amount of time to the weaken bar. It's just really weird to me, as good as this change is. The 0.1 second faster teleport recovery is cool, but all this did was just nerf blurry photo even more, which was already a bad add-on. Being able to look up is great, but it is also a gimmick because of how slow the UVX projectile is. Oftentimes, it still isn't even worth going for shots that can fully use this feature. And also, Unknown still can't fully look down, and I'm not gonna lie, I still think this is silly. Next, we have to talk about the add-ons, because seriously, what are we doing here? The very first thing I want to address is that behavior lied to us. A few days after the update released, I discovered that Capture by the Dark was shadow nerfed without being mentioned in the patch notes. For those that don't know, this add-on automatically makes all survivors start the trial weekend, with the trade-off of capping the Unknown's max hallucination count to 3. This add-on was changed to make your hallucination spawn timer at the start of the match take longer to spawn your first hallucination. In my opinion, this really hurts early game macro play, which is one of the best parts about this add-on. I think that Capture by the Dark is a very fun and interesting add-on that is balanced for both sides, and it is really easy to counter on Survivor with the new spawn changes. Personally, I'm a lot less upset about this nerf and more so of the fact that behavior didn't even tell us about it. If I didn't find out about it, I'm concerned that no one even would have, because I haven't seen a single person talk about it until I spoke up about it on Twitter. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is Vanishing Box. This add-on has gotten nerfed twice now. What Vanishing Box does is it will weaken any survivor who completes a generator. Before both Unknown updates, it didn't have a trade-off, so when Unknown released, Vanishing Box had no trade-off at all. In the very first Vanishing Box nerf, they added a trade-off that increases the hallucination spawn time to 80%. This means that it would have taken you 81 seconds to spawn a hallucination if no survivors are weakened. For clarification, without this add-on in play, the default spawn timer for a hallucination with no survivors weakened is 45 seconds. 81 seconds was already an extremely damaging nerf that basically made this add-on really hard to get value out of, as you're basically removing an entire aspect of your power. But behavior decided that it wasn't enough, and they nerfed it again. Now, Vanishing Box is 120% increased hallucination spawn time, and this means it will take you 99 seconds to spawn a hallucination when no survivors are weakened. With current vanishing bugs, you essentially have to have 2.5 good chases where you don't miss a single shot with UVX to even place a single hallucination. Vanishing box is just bad. Even 80% was too harsh of a nerf, and even with 80%, people were still using it so much that it got nerfed again. I still see people running this add-on. Next, we have Blurry Photo, which has just become more and more irrelevant with time, and it has also been nerfed again. Unknown has consistently received faster teleportation recovery with all of these updates, but with that, Blurry Photo's impact becomes less and less useful with this, because the teleport recovery gets adjusted with these base kit changes. And Blurry Photo has essentially become even more of a shadow of its old self, and I don't expect Blurry Photo to be a great add-on because it's common rarity, but even with that, the add-on has just become really irrelevant with how many changes we've received with the teleport. But personally, it feels like there's just not really a point to this add-on anymore. I know why people use Blurry Photo because it's satisfying, and to a degree, you can use it in Chase, but personally, I just don't think it's worth it compared to the other add-ons that you can pick on Unknown. What I'll say is, at the end of the day, Blurry Photo is probably just not for me. Alright, finally, the last add-on change that frustrates me the most is the Slash Backpack adjustment. Slash Backpack is an add-on that allows you to replace your hallucinations by firing a UVX blast at it to destroy it. When you destroy this hallucination, you are able to place another hallucination in its place. Previously, I have condemned this add-on for months because of how much of a waste of time it is to use it, but I still have seen many people talk positively about it, which I just find so confusing. What Slash Backpack's adjustment is that it gives you a little bit more time to tap your mouse 2 button to readjust where you want to place the next hallucination, which on paper is a great change, and actually I'm pretty happy with it. My issue comes down to behavior not addressing the core issue with this add-on, replacing your old hallucination spawn timer. Slash Backpack is really just one of the worst add-ons you can run on this killer, because mathematically, you're going to spawn less hallucinations throughout the match, and you're also going to put yourself on cooldown and slow your movement speed down. It's just not worth it. This add-on could easily be fixed, and it could keep its interesting purpose by allowing you to spawn multiple hallucinations at once, or just allow it to not affect your hallucination spawn percentage. It really isn't that hard, and I would like to see this add-on get a tiny change like that. That's all it needs. Seriously, it's a really creative and interesting add-on. I personally wouldn't like to see it go away if we would have something like that. So, all of these add-ons were nerfed to little to no compensation. Generally, when killers get add-on passes, we get many changes to add-ons, and the egregious ones are toned down, and some of the weaker ones are pushed back up to be stronger and to be more useful in games. So all these add-ons were nerfed with little to no compensation. A majority of Unknown's other add-ons have little to no visible effect in-game, which led to only a handful of add-ons getting number buffs. That's it. These add-ons aren't used by players because they have very little impact. They only got small number buffs, and we still have add-ons like Rabbit's Foot and Punctured Eyeball that literally do nothing useful in-game. It's no shock that these add-ons that got nerfed were popular to so many people because it's almost all Unknown really has, to a degree. So overall, I found this update really frustrating, and I think that it completely missed its purpose at even addressing core issues with the Unknown in general. It's almost like nothing even happened at all. Normally I'm very positive and I can kind of accept not everything being perfect, but what we got here was being able to look up, and other than that, we got number buffs to a few add-ons that didn't really change much at all, and then all of the powerful add-ons got nerfs. I just find it so odd, man. I just find it so odd. Now I want to talk about the Harmless situation. There has been an increasingly demoralizing precedent in this community that Unknown is harmless, and it's not hard to see why. This came to my attention that many creators have been speaking up about this, even figures in the community who don't quite play Unknown as much as some of us have been speaking up about this. And in general, this movement from the community was my main drive to just talk about this, because honestly, it's just interesting to see so many people discovering stuff like this that I've been talking about for almost a whole year. So what really is going on here? Well, what most people have come to discover is that Unknown has to put in so much more effort than most killers in Dead by Daylight to get a lackluster reward that may or may not be directly lost entirely if you miss a single shot. You are almost forced to play Unknown in an odd hit-and-run playstyle to succeed, which doesn't even work very well against players who know how to counter it. There is an actual tech for Unknown where you are literally encouraged to stand still and hide your chest from a survivor's perspective in order to prevent them from activating the reveal buffer. Here's a clip of me missing a shot on a survivor and just standing still just so they don't try and reveal me. Hide our chest so she can't see us. Well played. Just stand still. This killer is so well designed. Fellas, this is how you play Unknown, by the way. This is how you play Unknown. On paper, it's a really funny and interesting mechanic to play around as Unknown, but it can also be so exploitable by survivors. I think it's a pretty funny clip, but to explain the reveal buffer a bit more, to those who don't know, survivors have a 1.25 second reveal buffer window. This window means that if you stop looking at the Unknown with your camera, the weaken bar will continue to reduce for 1.25 seconds. After this 1.25 seconds wears off, the bar will pause. This is why survivors will finish breaking off their weaken around corners and walls. For an LOS-based killer, it just seems odd to me that you can't even hide effectively to try and avoid this, due to how strict this buffer is. My friend Indigo Ninja had discovered that the LOS window for survivors to reveal Unknown is so strict that you can even reveal Unknown through walls and around corners. They have created this visual approximation of how you have to aim to reveal Unknown and then compared it to Ghostface that I think is worth showing. Now, these examples are not definite, nor are they one-to-one, so do consider this with a grain of salt, but it is really telling considering how Ghostface Reveal has a longer windup to activate, where with Unknown you can just flick your mouse and activate the reveal buffer instantly. I think it's just odd. I don't really expect Ghostface or Unknown to have one-to-one reveal mechanics, as they both play and act very differently in their powers. But I would love to see Unknown's reveal mechanic addressed in some way, because in my opinion, that in particular is what makes this killer so frustrating to people. One other thing that's kind of unrelated, but I thought it was worth mentioning, is that survivors can remove weaken while Unknown is carrying a survivor, which I think is kind of silly. And also, hooking a survivor near a hallucination will make that hallucination disappear. Unknown does not get compensated for this. You are constantly forced to waste time traveling across the map to another hook spawn just to avoid destroying that hallucination, because you get no compensation for it, which I think is just dumb. I don't think you should artificially have to waste time and go to a different hook on the other side of the map just for something like this. I don't think that hallucinations should be near hooks. I'm fine with that, but I wish that you didn't have to go across the map to avoid it. And survivors can also freely dispel hallucinations without a care in the world if they have perks like DS or other perks that disincentivize tunneling. I don't really think this can be addressed, but this is just another reason that people find playing this killer so frustrating. Alright, next I want to talk a little bit about Unknown's capability. One thing that I find really odd about Unknown is their capability as a ranged killer. In my opinion, it is really weird to me that a ranged killer can't effectively use their power at long range because of its projectile being so slow. But it also can't use it up close either because Unknown just can't even look down. Tell me, I mean seriously, please tell me, what are you supposed to do? What is this power even for if you can't even use it up close or mid to long range? Now, obviously I'm simplifying it here and it is not this simple, but this in particular is another reason why so many players struggle with Unknown's agency in game. UVX is so telegraphed that it is almost impossible to hit in scenarios where you don't have a survivor locked into a choke point. This is why I try to guide people into using choke points as much as they can, because it makes playing Unknown a lot simpler. One final thing that no one really talks about is that Unknown actually has a 64-meter range where the sound of winding up UVX can be heard by survivors. For context, in a general map where Unknown and the Survivor are on the same elevation, Unknown has around a maximum range of 32 or so meters. This means that this sound effect to warn a survivor that Unknown is preparing a shot is more than double the range of its actual power. Is this not weird to anyone? I just don't get it. These issues, in tandem with all of Unknown's useful add-ons being nerfed without compensation, is why so many people are calling Unknown the Harmless now. While I do agree with people that Unknown has a lot of problems and has to put in an almost unfair amount of effort to get a reward, I don't want to discourage people from trying to learn about playing Unknown. Unknown is one of the most fun killers in the game. So fun, in fact, that it literally made me stop being a Survivor one-trick. Yeah, Unknown is my first killer. I don't know if everyone knows that, but Unknown is the first killer that's ever really, got me away from playing Survivor. While these issues make Unknown frustrating and difficult to play, not only can they be addressed pretty simply, in fact, this killer is still pretty powerful in the right hands. And I don't want people to believe that Unknown is C tier. Yes, the killer has problems. Yes, they need addressed. But there is still so much unique and interesting things that you can do on Unknown that you can't do on any other killer in this game. So please, don't be discouraged from trying Unknown, especially given the community's recent frustrations regarding this character, which are all pretty valid. There's still a really fun and interesting character underneath all of these issues. Oh yeah, did you think I was done? Nope. Guess what? I didn't even mention all of the bugs yet. The voice is missing the tremolo filter in the lobby. This issue was half resolved a long time ago, and they didn't even completely fix it. The weapon in the Unknown's lobby intro animation twitches now when it should be static. Survivors dispelling a hallucination while weakened will not refill their weakened bar. Survivors interrupted by dispelling have a chance to not get weakened at all. This can happen randomly, or if you teleport at the last frame of them dispelling it. There are numerous cosmetic bugs. On almost every skin except for the default, the jaw is not rigged properly to move. Unknown has several animations where the jaw opens that are just entirely broken because of this. The cheerleader Unknown skin has weird mesh deformation on their fingers, and the jaw is weighted improperly so the teeth stretch out instead of moving. The real-life tail skin is missing the fur on the first-person view model. It used to be visible. This skin also has a masking error where the fur does not disappear when you walk through a hallucination. When this outfit did have the fur would not mask either when you were in the recovery after a teleport. The legs aren't visible when breaking pallets, being stunned, or looking down on the Bonfire Fair skin, the real-life tail skin, the blighted skin. Almost every skin that has come out past the anniversary skin has had this issue. The "Now I am mad" voice line plays in the lobby instead of the caption that says, "I don't know whether I should laugh or cry." This voice line was never in the game, and this caption has been bugged since launch. The real-life tail and anniversary skin both use the masculine presenting voice. The back of the Bonfire's Fair skin's textures just look wrong. It also has this weird polygon and the texture on the chest as well. The default Unknown skin has weird mesh deformations on the side of the screen when you look down at high field of view. The back mouths of the Zookeeper skin, the Unsolved skin, and the Blighted skin are not rigged. They do not properly move, and they are permanently stuck open in their reference pose. There is a weird FOV hitch every single time you lunge with Unknown. Since the Castaway patch, there is a weird camera hitch that happens every single time you pick up a survivor. This is still not fixed on the public test build. The pickup animation is bugged, and the survivor will not be correctly aligned to the Unknown's hands. UVX can randomly desync, and the projectile will not match where it properly lands. UVX collision can be randomly inconsistent. Certain maps like Forsaken Boneyard, Nostromo Wreckage, Coldwind Farm, Autohaven Wreckers, Crotus Print Asylum, and many more have this issue. And many more have uneven bumps and divots on the floor that will make UVX bounce inconsistently, which can end up making you lose chases just because it will randomly bounce where you don't want it to. Many objects on maps have odd and inconsistent collision. Sometimes UVX will just slide, sometimes it won't. You really just have to play the game and figure out what objects will bounce and what objects UVX won't bounce off, and I can't write it all down. There are numerous invisible walls on maps that UVX can't go through. This hole on Gas Heaven's garage, for example. You can't shoot through the ceiling of Disturbed Ward's main building. UVX is ping based. If you have bad ping, you have even less time to successfully hit a survivor before their weekend will run out. This seriously needs to be addressed. I don't even know if it can at this point, but it needs to be addressed. It is sad that I have to check my ping with exit lag every single time I play, just so that I can play my killer without having to deal with the game putting me on the wrong server. This game is 9 years old and this is still happening. They also removed the ping counter in the lobby on purpose just so people don't complain about this. Branch collision and collision of random objects are inconsistent in nature. A great example being how Withered Isle maps, except for Garden of Joy for some reason, have no branch collision. And every other map in the game has branch collision, for the most part. And many more bugs I'm sure that I haven't addressed. I normally can tolerate bugs in this game, but many of these have been reported by me a long time ago, and Behavior have even confirmed that they have sent it to the right people to work on it. Yet none of these have been addressed yet. The cosmetic bugs for Unknown are continuing to happen with every single new cosmetic release, and I'm convinced they're not even aware of this because it keeps happening. I'm sorry, this is just bad. How are you forgetting to rig important aspects of a character that show up in their Mori? Okay, I'm done now. I'm sorry. Editing Brandon here. I wanted to show a few more bugs that we have found. For one, the hallucination auras are just never accurate. For some reason, the axe is always visible, no matter what weapon you're using. The body will not match. The head outline could be incorrect. Just in general, the auras for the hallucinations just don't work. And it's weird. I just don't understand how this even happens. And there's also another weird hitching animation when you're carrying a survivor. If you move forward or backwards, your camera and your weapon will hitch. This will also cause the camera to jitter. And yeah, this is just, I don't understand how Unknown has this many camera bugs still, and how we keep getting more with updates. But yeah, that's it. Alright, now I want to talk about the recent PTB that dropped last week, and the furtive chase nerf in particular. In this public test build, we received a new variation of anti-tunnel, which gives the killer bloodlust for 15 seconds every time they receive a unique hook. This bloodlust is removed whenever the killer enters a chase with a survivor, or they use their power. Unknown gets very little value out of this update, if none at all, nor do a solid 80% of the killer roster. I genuinely wonder what the thought process even was for this update, because even the M1 killers that really need an update like this barely get any value out of it at all. I do think it is worth clarifying how this update affects Unknown, just so this information isn't lost to time. So, when you teleport, after you hook a survivor, you will lose that bloodlust. When you fire UVX, you will also lose this bloodlust. And when you enter a chase with a survivor, you will also lose this bloodlust. In general, this change doesn't really help Unknown at all. And it's just really odd to me that you're almost incentivized to not use your power and instead proxy camp the hook with this so-called anti-tunnel and anti-camp update. It's just odd, and it's like against the whole point of this update. Even worse, one of my favorite perks on Unknown got gutted entirely. Furtive Chase gives you a 10% haste bonus when you hook the obsession. This perk encourages you not to tunnel, and it will consistently change the obsession throughout the match. It's just absurd to me that this anti-tunnel update is just a worse version of the old Furtive Chase that resulted in the current one being removed. My favorite Unknown build, Friends Till the End, Furtive Chase, Nemesis, and Lethal Pursuer will no longer work in the same way it used to, and I will likely have to switch to using a new build. I will not talk quite much more about this public test build, but there are plenty of great videos by the Mr. Headache, Darva, and Spook and Jukes that I will leave that talk a lot more about this PTB, and they talk about it a lot better than I will ever be able to. But overall, I'm just disappointed in general with this update, and the precedent that Behavior continues to set with this game and its future. We are several months into this Operation Health for this game, and this public test build in particular was supposed to address many killers' core issues and bug fixes, yet it was almost completely forgotten about. Behavior have delayed content for this game until January of next year. I would expect them to be spending this time on productive decisions, but instead they are continuing to make these controversial changes that end up getting reverted or heavily changed. This Operation Health has been a failure, and it is sad that the game has gotten in even worse of a state than it used to be. I personally genuinely believe that this game is in the worst state it's ever been in the history of the game. Now that I've been talking about the public test build as well as the current state of DBD, I want to address my current upload schedule, where I've been, and what I will continue to do for the foreseeable future. I am very well aware that I am very stingy about what I talk about, but I will try to be a bit more personal for this, as I feel that it is necessary in explaining what I will be doing here, as well as what I will be doing in the future. To those of you who aren't aware, I am a university student, and I am in an extremely critical point in my progress where I've been consistently altering between critical decisions, and I've also been taking a lot of difficult classes that are very important for me. The current state of Dead by Daylight has seriously thrown my love of this game away, and I'm so upset to say this because I used to call myself the #1 behavior defender, because I would always have something positive to say even during their weakest moments. However, I have not been able to be nearly as positive as I have ever been for this game, and I've almost entirely stopped playing it. It has become a chore to sit down and talk about this game, it has become a chore to even play this game, and it has become a chore to see so many people screaming at each other over and over a video game. Personally, I was able to tolerate it as I had always seen the positive and the negative in this community, and I have met so many great people and creators that I can consider lifelong friends and acquaintances from playing this game. I am talking about this not because I want to, but because I think that the Unknown community deserves an update, and Unknown also needs a rudimentary list of almost all of the issues this character has. The Unknown player base is a very small subset of the DBD sphere, and while I'm grateful to have been able to build an identity and community of folks who report over Unknown, I feel that Unknown has a very small space on YouTube and Twitch in general, so I've always felt passionate about being able to discuss anything relevant to Unknown in the game. I'm very happy that so many people look up to me for what I have done for Unknown, even though I personally feel that I haven't even done that much. It just means a lot to have gotten so much support. And I've also gotten so many great friends, messages, and support in general, especially recently, which has been surprising to me. Personally, from YouTube, I have learned a lot as well thanks to the positive criticism I've received. I've been able to practice my speaking, and I've also grown a special interest in 3D art and character design from my thumbnail work. In general, I'm extremely grateful for what I have built as an individual online. Truthfully, and I know it might sound weird, but I never really saw a future where I would be a full-time creator. I don't quite play Dead by Daylight as much as many other people do. I've been playing the game since 2016, and I only have about 5,100 hours in the game. That is barely anything at all, considering that I've been very active in the community for most of its lifespan. Right now, at least until something changes, I will be playing less Dead by Daylight, and I will be keeping up with the game less. I have been complaining about Dead by Daylight a lot, and I'm tired of complaining about it. I just won't look at it anymore, so I don't have to complain about it anymore, because genuinely, I need to stop. It's gotten to a point, man, where it's too much. I've been spending a lot of my free time on learning 3D more, and I'm gonna continue to do so. If I ever feel confident in sharing more, I'll do so. For the meantime, I will have on and off activity. I don't really see myself entirely quitting Dead by Daylight, especially if it has the potential to improve, so there could be a time where I come back and upload as much as I used to. I also want people to know that this won't be the last time I ever upload. And I will likely make Unknown stuff whenever I feel like it, especially if I have memorable games, because I always love to share them. For now though, I'm gonna be taking a break. I don't know how long, but I'm pretty active on my other socials, so it's not like I will be disappearing or anything. I'll just be a bit more distant than I used to be. And at the end of the day, I never even had a consistent upload schedule, so let's be serious for one moment. It's not like much is changing. Thank you to everyone who put their trust in me for being a speaker for Unknown, and I can promise that I will try to address critical changes or issues that Unknown might face in the future. Just give me some time, okay?